You talking about reading? Yeah. So I was very delighted to hear about the uh, reveal of Trigun Stampede, which is going to be coming next year. And in that, I remembered I was like, the thing that I want to exist, the thing I've been wanting for years, but I know is kind of an impossible project, is that like basically Trigun Maximum Brotherhood
Right, right,
is
right, right.
just not going to happen, right? It is a pipe like done by Madhouse that is just perfectly like it's the stars aligning would just never really happen for this. And I kind of made my peace with that idea. So uh, I was just happy that they're like, oh, we're gonna try doing something again. It felt as if after what is it, Battlefront Block Brigade? I forget what it was, but the last Night House series that came out, it didn't really blow up that much. It was probably like the least like popular of like the Naito series that have come out in over the course of the different years. Um, but like taking a look at it, I was like, okay, they're doing a new Trigun, and it's gonna be CG, and like that trailer, I'm like, yeah, that looks fine. I'm okay with that. I hear I didn't see B stars, but people said good things about B stars.
Oh, Beastars is great.
So the team involved on that, like I assume, is gonna do a competent job here. There's definitely that like thing going on with the way Vash looks. That is a I'm it's this entire category of like Luke or Ed discussion of like Zoomer look on characters is either going to be kryptonite or inoffensive to you, and
Yeah,
for that type of thing to be what Vash is doing, for those who it's kryptonite, I'm seeing a lot of people that are like, I hate the look. I don't mind it at all. It doesn't bug me. I'm just I'm happy for more Trigun, and like I think the animation doesn't look like the bad kind of CG. It seems as
yeah,
if it's you know doing decently. We're not in that berserk territory, but
definitely not.
and then the main thing, of course, too, while I'm just touching on it, is that content-wise would always be a bit more of my where I'd be concerned, and everything shown in the trailer for Trigun Stampede seems to just be in like flashbacks that are a part of the regular canon. So it seems as if
Right.
that's like if event-wise, it seems like it's going to still just be doing what we know, but it'll probably just adapt Maximum in its own way, or it'll you know choose to go into different parts of the original story. People are throwing the word prequel around, but I looked for a source on the word prequel and I cannot find one. There was a panel that came out that did not say the word prequel. So I think that's just a speculation based on seeing a bunch of REM flashbacks in the trailer, but I don't think that's necessarily accurate.
Yeah.
Um, so
I mean, people saying that he looks yassified, I think they're dead on. Whether or not that bothers you, like, I think it's all right.
yeah,
I don't. It means I wasn't super attached to his whole design.
yeah,
Um, it is fascinating to see um, the reaction to Vash be split between I hate this, I want the old design, I'm indifferent, and I want to impregnate his pussy.
sure.
Like that seems to be the three paths.
Yeah. If if they're showing a bounty that's less, so he's not the 60 billion double dollar man, then
Yeah.
there's a whole arc in between, the drop and the actual like backstory of him aging that they can go into. The anime kind of touches on it a little bit. Maximum fleshes things out more, but they definitely, yeah. I looking at it, it wouldn't be surprising if they decided to like not it's not going to be Maximum, but it's going to be a new interpretation of that material, perhaps. And Naitao is overseeing it, so I trust what he thinks is going to be cool. Uh, with that, though, I definitely thought back to the manga, and I was like, man, so much of it is a kind of weird blur in my head. And a lot of
Yeah.
manga I read back then, it was a blur in my head. But like, what's it with this that has it like super? Like, there's a lot of details I can't remember. I'm like, what was going on? And I'm like, oh, I remember. Like the show I watched early, that was super formative for me too. Like I'm watching back and I'm like, oh
Right.
my god, so many things aesthetically about this are like what I grew to love in like my manga like preferences and character style designs
Yeah.
and things. Um, the way I was reading it back in the day was after I watched the show was the manga was not done yet. I was getting the actual raw Japanese books, flipping through them, and then reading either wiki summaries that were not complete at the time or looking at threads where they were doing amateur translations of it because there were no scanslations yet.
Jesus fuck.
I was I was really in there trying to figure out what was going on because the series just like it was the only way, right? I was
You kids nowadays, you don't know what it was like. You want to read this thing from a different country, your odds of actually knowing what's happening in it are basically zero.
right. So it eventually got translated and released and everything, and I grabbed those, and that was nice. But back when there was no other option and there were no scans of it either, your only thing was get a raw copy and look for a companion thread on forums on the internet to help you. And,
Like,
that's it.
hey,
You
do
had no choice. It was
watch
that or you
Cooler's
won't
Revenge?
know.
You want to watch Cooler's Revenge? You can watch it in Japanese or Spanish. That's your options.
Take your fucking pick, you know. So anyway, and then eventually, like, yeah, going back through it, with the copies here, I'm just going. I started again, read through all of original Trigun, and then the first couple books of Maximum, and it is fucking. It's one of those series that I'm really glad where you go back to the work and it's like the creator of this. It was not a case where like the adaptations picked an art style and the original art style was like just too rough to really use or appreciate. I feel like even though, like for example, Attack on Titan, I haven't seen a ton of the manga, but I've seen that like the art style
It's
gets
not
really
good
weird
looking.
at points, yeah, and that they had to kind of like standardize a high quality thing that is not what the originals look like, you know.
Like I've seen enough of the Attack on Titan manga to tell you that like the art is like generally pretty mediocre, if not outright bad.
Trigun Maximum and Trigun look fucking excellent, but they're also very different from what the show ended up being. And then weirdly, because of what the show ended up being, that character design style became what Naito's characters were known to look like. So Gungrave has the same
Right.
style, and then BBB same style as well. And you know, like it was, but you go back to it and like, yeah, it's great. It's one of these things that as I'm reading it, I'm also thinking, this is also probably impossible to adapt faithfully
Oh yeah?
because it gets insane. It gets so much more insane than the show does. Like everything happening everything happening in the show is like the first bit of the story, and then it gets into like wild fucking like intergalactic mad, like it's crazy, and you can't really, not without a ridiculous budget or just a dream team of like what David production is to JoJo, where they're like, we are diehard fans that are just gonna do everything as faithful as possible. We're gonna do it to what your memory is of these moments because we just love
Yeah.
it that much. That dream fucking result is just like not really plausible here. So whatever Trigun we get, I think, is going to always be adapted in some way, shape, or form, or it'll be like Badlands Rumble, where it's just like a wacky adventure Vash goes on, and don't worry about it, you know. But like I think the ridiculous pipe dream is more extreme in this series case than it is for a lot of other things, where I'd be like, oh, the perfect adaptation would be amazing, you know. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna see if I can get back around to that. Although, weirdly, I'm missing some of my copies of the later books, and looking online, there's some stupid prices because some of them went out of print. So there's a whole fucking annoying thing going on with that. Where like, yeah, suddenly a $30.
That's one of
book.
the other reasons that I decided to get a Kindle, because like I was, I'm looking at Berserk, right, and it's like, hey, can I get these volumes? No. Just no is the answer.
You want to pay 10 times the price for this book, you know? Like, anyway, yeah. So we'll see. And I know that they're going, oh, new cast and new world for Stampede. So that seems to imply that like Johnny Young Bosch is out, and that sucks. But like, I hope when the English comes around, they might consider, because I know that if they're not going that way in Japanese, they're probably not going to go that way in English. But it would be really nice, because
you never know.
It was also, I didn't know this, but like Johnny Young Bosch talked about it and did say that like that was his first major role in anything.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, I didn't know that either.
Even before Power Rangers.
He might have been on Power Rangers at the what did he say? I think that was his first major voice acting role. I don't know if that considers if he's including acting on Power Rangers as a in what he's saying, but he kind of implied that it was like a big deal for him as his first voice acting. Yeah, okay, there we go. So I hope that like they don't feel that like, oh yeah, we gotta, when it comes to English, we gotta flush it all out and go new again, because yeah, man, like Johnny Young Bosch is also one of those voice actors that still sounds the same as well, and
yeah, pretty much,
and can completely pull that off and made that dub like better than most dubs were at the time. So
people are pointing out that for Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, the Japanese cast changed, but they used all the same actors from the dub.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so it's possible. Excellent. I really hope so. Yeah. It's, for anyone who watched Trigun in English, like, it's a defining thing how good the voice acting is and how good of a job he does, and it's part of what we love about it, nostalgically, I suppose. So yeah, Trigun Stampede. Okay. Also,
how long is Trigun? Like all of it?
The show or the manga?
The manga.
The manga is 2 thick volumes of Trigun, and then maximum is 1 to 14. So 16 volumes total. Technically 17 if you want to count the first 2 as the 3 Takamons.
I mean, we talked about, and I'm sure I am literally over a decade late to this. We talk about Berserk, and Berserk's pretty long. It's at like what, 42 volumes now? I want to say. Maybe 41.
Yeah, 40.
And I'm
41
like,
or so. Yeah.
So I just on a whim just typed in the word One Piece, and the first result was volume 97. And I am dumbstruck with how much goddamn One Piece there is. Like, Dragon Ball outdates it by decades and still doesn't even have anywhere near, not even close.
Trigun,
and people say it's good. That's silly.
Trigun is notably more tame than that. And I think, like, it was interesting because, yeah, the way it was made was the anime was planned and ended before the manga did, and kind of, like, in some ways influenced some of his decisions with the story to just go a different way and with it, and then it ended up taking its time, and when it got there, but it's not one of these forever stories that you'd have to commit to. So it also is nice, though, to look at Berserk and be like, okay, if you're putting the volumes 3 and 1, it comes down to like 12, 13 books, you know?
Yeah.
It is even though it's like it's a lot less intimidating than like your entire shelf just stretching into the horizon. So
It's just like I'm starting to get freaked out by the algorithm because I feel like it just every time I talk about something with anybody, not even type it, just talk, all of a sudden my recommended fucking
mhm,
bullshit on my phone starts to show up.
mhm.
And I saw an article that seemed to like mock me, and it was now's the best time to start reading One Piece
uh,
because Oda's taking a break right now for a month or so, and he's going to start the final story arc.
mhm,
And I'm like, I think the best time to start reading One Piece was like 25 fucking years ago.
mhm, mhm.
You can like,
You know what it is though?
and the article surmises that you can catch up before the like what?
The moments in that I recall for One Piece that have been the major like should I start reading One Piece moments that everyone has those questions in their life that they ask themselves multiple times, at least 4 times a decade. If you haven't started it and you're listening to this, you've asked yourself, should I start? You know, and those moments are always when there is a something that goes down and people are like, yo, One Piece chapter 1000 discussion, spoilers, holy shit, right? And it's like, okay, some stuff's popping off, cool, there's something happening that's getting people talking about it, that's a big deal to the story, and this is another point to be like, should I start, you know, like that's what it always comes down to, is like a major spoiler event is popping hard.
Yeah, so there was like the Toon Force shit, and then there was that famous character that died that I'm not even gonna mention.
I don't know
But
anything.
you know the one
about
that died in the One
anything.
Piece.
I know nothing about nothing. But yeah, so working my way through that, and just very, very happy to see that like the Trigun is a thing they're gonna try out again, and it's not gonna be tried out in a like Cowboy Bebop live action kind of context, and it's not gonna be tried out in a Berserk 2016 kind of context, but like it can still be bad. But so far, I'm on board with what I see.
I would not call Berserk 2016 being tried out. That was given to like a legitimate amateur director, and is that is a low effort piece of shit. That is like goddamn like the bit with Guts just South Parking off the screen. God damn it!
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit!
Yeah. I'm also happy too that like rereading Trigun as well and seeing how like the things that were aesthetically cool and edge back then are still just sincere and pure in what they're going for, but there's still these great moments of like the story is all about you know Vash the Stampede, the pacifist, that is being challenged on his pacifist views because they're practically insane in the setting that he's in.
They're farcical. They're stupid. They're
Exactly. And like the world is screaming at him constantly about how stupid he's being about what he's doing, and characters are just pushing that further and further and further. And upon rereading, I'm like, I'm glad that still is conveyed. I'm glad that still comes through, that it's like, you complete fucking idiot, like really, you know? And it, like okay, well, what about when the situation is not so cut and dry? What about when it's like what about when you are proven almost objectively wrong? You know, what then? And like, you know, I mean, depending on how early on in the story you are, like his response might just be, I don't know, I'm gonna break down and cry because I haven't figured that part out yet. You know, I'm trying to adhere to a philosophy that someone special to me imparted, and I
But
don't
it's
really have the.
impractical.
It's impractical, and I kind of don't know what I'm supposed to do when this really, really, really doesn't work. You know, so like, yeah, that still comes through pretty strongly, and I'm happy that's the case.